What is up, everybody? Patty Schnee here again today, back at it again with another video. And it has recently come to my attention that Red was not the only one to release a new album on April 3rd. And so today we're going to be doing a review of August Burns Red new album, Guardians. Now, a little bit of a backstory with me and August Burns Red. I've heard a lot of good things about this band. In fact, when I was watching Eminence's live stream, Eminence is one of my favorite bands, I asked them what their favorite metalcore band was, and they said that August Burns Red is the king of metalcore. And so I was like, okay, I gotta check this band out. But every time that I've tried to check this band out, I just can't get into them. Something about their style and their technique just doesn't really vibe with me. So if you came here to watch me gush about August Burns Red, I just want you to know that that's not going to happen. I'm going to be looking at this album pretty critically, but I'm going to try to find the positives in it as well, even though I don't necessarily vibe with this style of music entirely. So without further ado, let's just jump into a track-by-track analysis of this album. Starting off with the first track, we have the song The Narrative. In my opinion, this album as a whole is a lot of generic sounding metalcore music, but there are some really amazing standout tracks, and I'll get to those later. But The Narrative is one of those more more generic sounding tracks. The repeating motif in this song is not super brilliant in my opinion, and a lot of the repeating motifs throughout this entire album sound pretty similar. But the truth is, whenever I listen to music that's kind of new to me, a lot of this stuff sounds similar, so I'm not going to hold that too much against them. The chorus of this song honestly reminds me of the band War of Ages. Now, there are a few albums that I've tried to review, but I just haven't been able to review, and this album by August Burns Red was one of those albums where I thought I would never really get to review it, just because it would be hard to kind of get through the album without just kind of stopping listening to it. And so I've listened to it about 3 times, and I think this album really falls in the vein with bands like War of Ages, and that's what this song really reminds me of, is that band. But anyways, I'd have to give this first track, The Narrative, a 7 out of 10. The instrumentation is good, and throughout this entire album it's good, but on this song it's kind of more generic sounding. The second song we have is Bones. When I was listening to the album, I didn't really even notice that it switched songs between The Narrative and Bones. The fact that these songs kind of blend together is not necessarily the best thing, but this does have a good guitar solo. So I'd say the first time I listened through this album, I thought, wow, there really weren't many leads in this album. But then I realized when listening through again, I was like, wow, I just missed leads because I was listening to it while doing something else. Because I like to listen to music a lot when I'm doing graphic design work, but I'm focusing on the graphic design work, not on the music. So my latest listen through, I actually focused on it and found out there are some great leads in this album. And on Bones, there's a great guitar solo towards the middle/endish of the song. And I like how the ascending riffs kind of lead towards the end. And the leads really shine in this song. They're really the best part of this song. So I'll give this song 7.5 out of 10. Coming into the third single, we have, not single, well, it might have been the third single, I'm not entirely sure, but the third song, we have the song Paramount. I think this song has a very unique intro, and then it just hits hard. And I like that. Like I already said, a lot of the instrumentation on this album is good. But when you pair it with the screaming, it doesn't work as well. One thing that I don't like about August Burns Red is their screaming just doesn't feel very melodic. I'm one of those guys that really likes more melodic sounding metalcore/hard rock, and this screaming is not very melodic as well as it's kind of just one pitch most of the way through. So you have these beautiful and albeit amazing intros. And then suddenly it just comes in heavy with just heavy blast beats that are just pounding your head, and then he's just and it's like, it kind of ruins the song for me, and those are one of the things about August Burns Red that I particularly do not like. And I think that kind of happens in this song as well as throughout the entire album. I think that in my notes I put, outro instrumentals are moi. I literally put moi in my notes. So I guess I love the outro instrumentals on Paramount, as well as there's a lot of moments in this album that really shine if you really just take the time to listen to them. This song, Paramount, is another 7.5 out of 10. Coming in at number 4, we have the song Defender. I know this was the first single release from the album, and this is probably like the catchiest song on the entire album, which is why it's one of my favorites. And it's got a very memorable chorus. It's one of those choruses that you can really, like, you don't forget it. I was singing it the other day, even though it's a screamed section, it's still memorable. And I think that's something that's hard to do. Using screams but making them a memorable, catchy, hooky chorus. Righteous wrath, wrath in empathy. Or no, born in empathy. Anyways, but it's really good. These hard-hitting riffs really give this song a nice, bouncy feeling, and it's a great song. This is definitely one of the standout tracks on this album. And that breakdown. All I gotta say is that's maybe one of the best breakdowns of 2020. Like, obviously this year's kind of just gotten started, but it's a great breakdown in this song. And the fact that the song kind of calms down and leads up to the breakdown really helps. Also, the fact that he goes, "Who will deliver the sentence?" Like, that lyric just sets up the breakdown so well. So this is definitely one of my favorites off of the album. I have to give this one a 9 out of 10 overall. Coming in at number 5, we have the song Lighthouse. I think this was my favorite off the album upon first listen. And I don't know if it's necessarily still my favorite, but it's definitely one of the best ones on the album. It's got the best chorus on this album, and it's got more melodic elements in it than the other songs, so that's what really attracted me to it. There's great dynamics in this song. I love the lyrics in this song, and the stripped down portion of the song is kind of a nice breather from all of the heavy instrumentation that's going on throughout this album. And the spoken parts in this song, it makes me think of War of Ages as well as Wolves at the Gate a little bit. And I really like that. I'm trying not necessarily to, I am comparing August Burns Red to other bands, but that doesn't mean they're not unique. It just means that it just recalls certain bands from my memory. But yeah, this song has great dynamics, and it's all around a great song. Probably my favorite off the album, so I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10. Coming into these next tracks, the album starts to kind of decline a little bit, in my opinion. The first few tracks on this album were a little bit generic metalcore to me, but these last few tracks on this album are especially generic metalcore, and they showcase the things that I don't really like about August Burns Red. That's not to say that this is not good music. This is great music, and all in all, I really like the instrumentation of August Burns Red's music. But let's just get into this next track. Number 6, we have the track Dismembered Memory. This has some fantastic instrumentals, and the crazy ending, which I thought it was the ending when I was listening to it and jotting down notes, but it's not necessarily the ending. It's close to the ending, where it just goes crazy. Is very memorable, and it's a big memorable part on this album. The thing though is, this song is a little bit more generic sounding, but I do think that they have some great textures in there with the guitars. There are moments on this album, and particularly in this song, where you have some great dissonant chords, adding some tasty spiciness to the riffs, and it just adds so much, and it sounds amazing. And those are some parts of some styles from this type of genre that I really vibe with. And so I give this song a 7 out of 10. Coming in at number 7, we have Ties That Bind. I love the theme in this song. I can't really remember it all off the top of my head, but I remember that I really love the theme of this song. And throughout this entire album, the lyrical content is pretty great. Now, I'm not necessarily an expert on August Burns Red's lyrics, so I can't really tell you whether they're leaning on tropes that they've used in the past because I don't know much of their past music. But I do know that the lyrics are great in this album. That's probably one of the best parts of this album. And in Here Ties That Bind, that's one of the best parts of this album as well. It's got a good build-up, another tasty breakdown in this song, and the fade off from the song, fading out the song was a great choice because it was a little bit different from some of the other tracks on this album. I give this song an 8 out of 10. Coming in at number 8, I feel like this might be the heaviest song on the album. We have Blood Letter. The thing about this song, though, is there's not really a distinct or memorable chorus in this song. The best part of this song is probably the chord progression and the line, "We won't bury it in your back. It's time to bury the hatchet. We won't bury it in your back." I really like that line. So this song does have some stuff to offer, but it just kind of blends in with the rest of the album. So I'll give it what did I give it? On here it says 6.5 out of 10. I'm giving it a 7 out of 10 instead. Coming in at number 9, we have the song Extinct by Instinct. The atmospheric sweep opening, I don't know if it's necessarily sweeps, it's some kind of sounds really good, and there's a lot of good atmospheric sounding instrumentation in this song. The song overall is kind of a little bit of a filler track. The hook there is not very present. It kind of floats by a little bit, but the fact that the instrumentation really supports it is a really good feature. Like I said before, the whole song is very atmospheric sounding, and you can hear a few, like, I want to say Latin sounding influences in there, which I hear a lot in August Burns Red's music, because I've listened to their instrumental, I believe it's an instrumental Christmas album. I believe that's what they have. And I've listened to that before, and I've always thought it was a little Latin sounding, and it's very different, and I like how they do that, but this song just kind of seems more filler, so I'll give it a 6.5 out of 10. Coming in at number 10, we have Empty Heaven. It's got a very captivating intro, but one thing in this song that I really don't like, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's a terrible song, the blast beats. I'm not a huge fan of blast beats. I think they can be utilized very well if you use them right, but I'm just not a fan of them necessarily. So like I said earlier in my review, like sometimes they have some great intros, but the blast beats come in and then just pound you in the head. Makes me think back to when I listened to As I Lay Dying's album Shaped by Fire. That album does it way worse than this album, I think. That album just leans on the blast beats all the time. In my opinion, it's not an original way to shape your drums. Just have and I know it makes the song sound heavy, but it's like you're already using heavy instruments. You don't necessarily need that. I don't know. It works well. I mean, no, it doesn't work well. What am I saying? It makes sense why they would use that, but I particularly don't care for it. And this song, as well as the next song, they kind of lean on it, as well as the last song, Extinct by Instinct. They kind of lean on it a little too heavily. That's one of my least favorite parts of this album, and probably of August Burns Red stylistically. But that's just my opinion, and so is this entire album review. And seems like a filler track. I give Empty Heaven 6.5 out of 10, even though the lyrics are very good. Coming in at track 11, this is the last track off of the album. We have the song Three Fountains. I love the chord progression in this song. It's a very simple chord progression, but I think it works very well. Beautiful instrumentation at the beginning, yet it comes in with some blast beats that it seems to drown out the beautiful instrumentation, and it just seems to kind of, I don't know, something about it I just don't like. I think this is probably the chillest song on the album, although he still screams his lyrics. I feel like they could have tried to have a little bit more melodic, maybe just cleans in this song. I don't know if that's frowned upon in this genre of metal, but I definitely think they probably could have had some cleans in this song, if not most of the song being cleans, because I feel like here's another thing that I'm not necessarily a big fan of from August Burns Red. I feel like what they do is they get this great instrumentation. Like, they lay out the instrumental track and then they just scream over it. Like, they just, and without like formulating a melody, it just kind of makes the song a little bit more bland. And I feel like it's a little lazy. Like, forming the melody for vocals is one of the hardest things to do and one of the most captivating things about music. And if you kind of skip over that part, it kind of just messes it all up. This closing track, I have to give it a 6 out of 10. And I want to tell you guys the truth. I'm not trying to use my bias to review and critique this album. And if you guys got any opinions about this album, put them down in the comments below. I'd love to discuss this album with you guys, because I'm not trying to hate on this band, but just overall, I feel like this album doesn't necessarily have any moments that particularly shine. I mean, you have Defender and you have Lighthouse. Those are probably my two favorite songs on this album. But other than that, they all kind of just mesh together. So overall, I probably have to give Defender by August Burns Red a 7.5 out of 10. Still a great album. Like, obviously, fans of August Burns Red are going to love this album. And the instrumentation is still killer. The lyrics are fantastic, but I just feel like they could have worked on formulating a few more melodies throughout this album. Thank you so much for watching my review of the album Guardians by August Burns Red. If you are new to my channel, please hit that subscribe button for more content like this coming soon. I have more time on my hands, so I'm going to do more content on my YouTube channel. So hit that subscribe button so you won't miss it. Also hit that like button if you like this video. I'll catch you later. Peace out.